It it felt like a Star Wars movie. It sounded like a Star Wars movie. And I know a lot of people complained about Palpatine and the clones and all of that. And I get it. I mean, it's kind of, we'll never know, or at least not for a lot of years probably, like exactly what JJ would have done if Snoke hadn't got killed off. Because clearly it just seems like Palpatine was like a, you know, his replacement for Snoke. So one can only assume that he had some sort of a master plan in mind. And after Last Jedi, which was good in its own right, but it threw a lot of stuff from The Force Awakens out the door. And so JJ had to come in and, you know, just work with what he was given. And I think that, you know, it feels like the wrap up to The Force Awakens. So I liked it. I liked it a lot. Oh, good. I'm glad you liked it too, Floor. Yeah, I mean, there was some. I mean, I don't. You guys can tell me what your favorite parts were. But like, I really enjoyed having Lando back, and I thought that the female stormtrooper character that may or may not have been his daughter, she had more chemistry with Finn in the couple of scenes that they were in than he ever had with Rey. And so, you know, I'd watch more stuff with those two. And that's one of those things that as a writer or director, you just can't predict like what kind of chemistry the actors are going to have with each other. And when you find those that click, you know, like Poe and Finn, or Finn and the Stormtrooper, you just kind of got to run with it, because, you know, that's when the magic happens. I was really hoping he'd figure out a way to bring Phasma back one more time, but I guess killing her twice was enough. But I kind of like to think of her as like she's the new trilogy's version of Boba Fett in a way. So I kind of feel like they could just bring her back as many times as they want and no one would complain. I mean, people will complain about everything, but you know what I mean. But Rise of Skywalker was good. I really enjoyed the planet with the big festival, and where they find the ship out in the desert, and you know, they really had me going on the Chewbacca thing for a while. So, you know, there's definitely some like big moments in there. And like the moment with the snake creature under the sand, that was kind of interesting. I mean, to see Rey in a position where she could have just like used the Force and killed it or whatever, and instead she healed it. It was sort of an interesting moment to put in there. I definitely could have had some more development with like Kylo and the Knights of Ren, or maybe like extended battle scene with those guys or something, but that doesn't really affect the way I feel about the movie. That's just be like, oh, that'd be cool to see. Alright, so yeah, working on a little Yoda here. Like I said, all Star Wars today, so just trying to get in the zone and do it. And because it's Friday, I opened my sketch list back up, so hopefully some people will have some creative, fun sketches for me to do. I've got some fun ones coming up. I've got a Rocketeer and another Baby Yoda, and some more Star Wars and some non-Star Wars, so There's a couple of good ones on the list. And of course, if Alex is still here, I know he's working, so he might not be, but going to do an Indiana Jones for Alex, so that'll be fun. Looking forward to that. But you know, these characters, it's all in the eyes. So I try to, if it's a human character, I normally will like just do the eyes before I even start drawing the rest of it, because you know, if the eyes aren't right, it'll never look right, kind of thing. But with Yoda, I've done him enough times that, you know, the eyes count, but it's a lot about the wrinkles and stuff for him. He's got such a distinctive kind of pattern. Just try to get that stuff dialed in as much as I can. So, is everybody ready for the Mandalorian behind-the-scenes documentary that starts? Is that Monday? Is Monday May the 4th? Is Tuesday May the 4th? Whatever day May the 4th is when it starts. I'm pretty excited about that. I watched the Mandalorian series 2 or 3 times from start to finish. So I'm sure I'll watch the documentary series at least twice. I mean, who knows? I watched that Disney Imagineering series. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. So hopefully this will be just as good. I geek out so much on that behind the scenes stuff. You know, especially everything they've been showing with how they're using the digital projection screens to do some of the backgrounds. It's kind of mind-blowing. It's totally crazy. So Andy, I saw you guys, you said you were getting ready to get your swimming pool fired up for the year. It's about that time. I couldn't believe it. It was like almost 100 degrees at like 8 a.m. this morning. I was like, really? It seems a little early for that. Seems a bit soon. But here we are. So one of the things I try to do with cloaks and clothing is to do these kind of like flowing kind of lines for the folds in the fabric. And it's kind of like inspired by like Hot Rodder's pinstripes, this kind of like motions and stuff. I find it works out, for my style at least, it works out pretty well for doing the fabrics. So I just kind of do these like little squiggle motions. Like that. And once I ink that in, it usually tends to work out pretty well. But little Yoda's coming along pretty good. And I don't know about you guys, but I really like the puppet version of Yoda better than most of like the CG versions of Yoda. I mean, I guess like when he's doing the lightsaber duels and stuff, it's okay, but for like the dialogue and the acting with the one-on-one with the actors, it just seems like the puppet version of Yoda just actually emotes more. I don't know why or how, but for me at least it works better. And I don't know when they did the original or the prequel trilogy, I don't know if the CG on Yoda was just all computer animated or if they were doing motion capture on him. I don't know. I mean, I know Jar Jar was a lot of motion capture. Hey Monique, how are you today? Thanks for joining us on our all Star Wars Sketchfest today. We did a Dio droid, and now we're going to do a Yoda, and then we're going to end with the BB-8 today. So I hope you're having a good time. Those corn muffins that you made in like a rose pattern, wow, that was cool. Those looked yummy. I'm usually not a big bread or carb guy, but let me tell you, I would knock some people over to eat some cornbread, so it looked yummy. And I grew up in a ham and beans kind of family, so I'm kind of all about that. I don't know, in Missouri where I'm from, I think there's like a north-south divide where people from sort of the northern part of the state eat ham and beans, and people from like the southern part of the state don't. So it's kind of a weird division, you know. They were tasty. Oh, they looked tasty. You put those pictures up, I was like, oh my goodness. But yeah, I can't think of his screen name, but Danon was on here yesterday, and he was talking about during the crisis fattening the curve instead of flattening the curve, and I said, yeah, that's me, and I'm just eating all the time, it feels like, because there's just nothing to do but work and eat, right, and binge watch television. And I feel like I'm living in Wall-E or something, you know. All I need is a chair that drives itself, and be like, I forgot how to walk. I'd be like, hey Brian, what did you do during the quarantine? I'd be like, oh, I tried to turn myself into Jabba the Hutt. That's what I did. Alright, so Yoda's coming along here. We're getting some of these details worked out on him. So once I've got the pencils down, we can start putting some ink and some shading and stuff in there. Too much junk food, yeah, I hear you. I'm not much of like a packaged junk food guy or anything like that, but with Christy home, she's been doing a lot of baking, and it's all really good. So it's hard to have, any kind of discipline. Plus, the gym that I would go to, the kickboxing gym, is closed. And so I'm going to have to, I keep saying, I'm going to have to do something different. But other than just taking some walks around the neighborhood, I haven't. And clearly that's not enough. So I've got this app on my phone called 7, like a workout app. And I used to do that when we would travel to the Middle East. And it would keep me in shape enough. So I need to probably get back to doing something like that. You've gained 10 pounds. Yeah, I hear you. I know. And the COVID-19, I think the 19 is how much weight we each gain. All right, so there's the pencils done. So I think we can throw some ink on here and probably start with some of the darker areas and then work up to some of the grays and stuff. Luckily, this one's a little, Yoda's always fun to draw, and he's not quite as intensive, labor intensive as that Chewbacca was yesterday. I do like drawing Chewbacca, but with all that fur, it just takes a while. Yeah, so we'll all gain our 19 pounds and fatten the curve. Alright, so just trying to probably do like the perimeter and then like the eyes and the mouth. And then we start working on some of the shading. So Monique, we were talking right before you got here about the Rise of Skywalker, and everybody was kind of chiming in their opinions. It seems like overall everyone kind of liked it. I don't know if that's one that you've seen or not, but I was saying some of my favorite scenes were on the planet with the festival, in where they had the chase scene and they fall down into the underground pit and find Dio. Kind of felt like a classic action-packed like Star Wars movie. And I haven't played the games in a long time. I used to like to play Star Wars video games, but I haven't in forever. But I see some of the videos and screenshots of some of the latest updates on Battlefront 2, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, that looks so cool. You've not seen Rise of Skywalker, okay. Well, I won't spoil it then. But I am excited for the Mandalorian docuseries that starts, I think it starts next week. So I'm pretty sure it starts on May the 4th. I think that's going to be just a ton of fun to watch. I mean, Favreau's always good. Plus, I'm assuming we'll get interviews with the directors of each episode. So that would be nice. Maybe they'll interview Baby Yoda. That would be pretty sweet. Or Werner Herzog. I'd love to hear what he has to say. But yeah, Christy and I watched the English Game on Netflix. And I don't really know anything or care anything about soccer, but it's the same writer behind Downton Abbey, which we both really enjoyed. And I have to say, it was good. It's only like 6 episodes, I think, 5 or 6, so it's short. And it's really, what it's really about is like working class Britain in the 1800s and how the working class fought for the right to play soccer, since it was invented by the wealthy, and kind of the first chance that the working class got to play in a championship. And it was really cool. I enjoyed it. I thought it was really well done, and the acting was good. If you had told me I would like a show about soccer, I'd have been like, you're wrong, but it was great. Alright, so this is the black. I think we can go ahead and just fill some of this stuff in and get it out of the way. So the more time it has to dry, the better. One of the challenges about doing these in one sitting live for you guys is trying to let the black ink dry a little bit before the markers go down. I was tuned into Joe's channel, and I see what he's doing is he's doing all of his black inks on one day and then coming back the next time and doing the shading, which is probably smart. That's what kind of how I would do it, you know, if I wasn't streaming it. So rough in these black areas and go from there. But Yoda's, you know, people ask me what I like to draw. I mean, Boba Fett's super fun to draw. Yoda's super fun to draw. And of course, Baby Yoda too. I was joking with people at, I don't know, whatever the last convention I was actually at was. I was like, well, if you like Baby Yoda, you're going to love Classic old man Yoda. There we go. But yeah, the more the black fills I can put in early, then by the time I come back around with the gray markers, then it's less likely to smudge or smear or anything. I've been trying to get my art supplies mostly through Amazon Prime right now because Michael's, a bunch of their stuff, you know, they're doing curbside pickup, but a lot of their stuff they're not including in that. It seems like any sort of art supply that I want to buy is not included in that. But the problem is Amazon's been limiting a lot of things, and so I can only buy like one box of markers at a time or 2 sketchbooks at a time. I mean, obviously we want them to be able to serve people that have actual dire needs. It's definitely been a little bit of a wrinkle. There we go. So just try and get the shadows in his clothing as much as possible, so it has a little bit more time to dry there. So we'll do the same thing over here. Well, I hope everybody is excited that they made it to another Friday. I can't believe it's Friday already. I've never streamed 4 days in a row before. And I can tell you, it really makes the week go by fast. But, I don't know. Does anybody have any interesting weekend plans? Interesting plans that you can do from home? I think everybody in my neighborhood is doing every sort of house and vehicle maintenance that's possible right now. I guess the construction crews are considered essential workers, and so I swear like 5 different houses in our neighborhood is getting like new roof right now, which is kind of, I mean, interesting if nothing else. And what about social distancing? I've noticed when I go on my walks, it's kind of interesting to see, you know, which people are kind of like following the rules and trying to stay 6 feet away, and then, you know, I'll see 20 or 30 people at the basketball court playing basketball, and I guess to each their own, but it seems kind of unwise right now. I was at the grocery store the other day, and it seemed like at least 60% of the people had their mask on, but there was one guy and his kid, and they were not wearing masks, and he had a big herd immunity t-shirt. So I guess he was trying to make a point. Seems a little reckless to me, to be making your point by putting other people's lives at risk. That may be an unpopular opinion, I don't know, but that's how I feel about it. I don't even know what you would compare that mentality with, but I saw where Lucasfilm Story Group announced a while back that they're having a new book series. I think it's books and graphic novels. You'd ask his name, and when he asked why, I said, keep an eye out for his obituary. Oh, that's a great comeback. Well, I wish I would have thought to be so witty, but maybe if something like that happens again, that's exactly what I'll do. I'm originally from Kansas City, Missouri, and I saw that they're getting ready to reopen businesses maybe today or something. And their phase 1 of their reopening is called 10-10-10. And so the business can have 10% of capacity or 10 people, whichever number is higher. And that's indoors, or they can have up to 50 people outdoors. And then they have to follow a bunch of guidelines. But on top of that, if you're going to be there for more than 10 minutes, you have to register with, I guess, like your name and contact information. And people in my hometown are losing their minds and talking, all kinds of crazy talk about Nazis and whatever. And I'm like, well, first of all, it's phase 1 of the reopening, and they're trying to do it slow and smart. They don't have to reopen at all. In phase 2, if it's your business and you don't want to abide by those rules, well, don't open. And I know it sucks, but I think we're all losing our incomes right now. And I don't know what we're going to do long term. I don't know how we're going to survive that. But what I do know is that me putting an extra $1 in my pocket is not worth however many people, even one, right? Even one person dying, it's not worth it. So when I see people losing their minds over this stuff, I'm like, well, you have to be positive, and imagine that there will be some solution down the road. But in the meantime, let's not put other people's lives at risk because we want to get a nice haircut or a cheeseburger or a drink at a bar. And let me tell you, I would love to do all of those things, but not until it's safe. So I don't know why that's so hard for people. And I get it that it's a luxury to be able to work from home, and not everybody can do it. But everyone's making their own sacrifices, and some are definitely sacrificing more than others of us. And some people don't have a choice. They're frontline workers like Florida Villainy and like Alex. And they're putting it all on the line for us. And then we've got some yahoos that want to ruin it and want to make things worse. It just drives me nuts. All right, I'll stop with the pontification. I know nobody wants to hear that. But as Peter Griffin would say, it really grinds my gears. All right, so we've just about got these black shadow areas on Yoda here. We need to do a little bit of outlining on his hand and stuff. And we can start working on the gray values. Well, thank you, Monique. I think someone else had an article or said something, and they're like, for all the people who thought that we were going to come together and unite and face this crisis together, it's like those people were wrong, and it's sad. Alright, so yeah, I think we can jump in with some gray markers and start doing some shading here. I think I want to go fairly darkish with this ear, so that we can go with a medium dark on his face. Just avoid as much of the negativity as you can. which in your line of work is next to impossible. Yeah, that's the right attitude to have, though. Just try to stay positive. I find like and not like fake positivity, like not just like smiles and stuff, but like kind of like that message about you get more with honey than vinegar. I don't know, I'm blanking on that right now, but like that kind of attitude, can just yield a better result and more collaboration. And I'm definitely like a goal-oriented person and project-oriented, and so I'm always saying like, well, don't tell me what can't be done. Let's talk about what can be done, And I think that's the kind of thinking we need right now. Because there's plenty of people who want to shout from the rooftops all kinds of negativity. We just need to back that up with some positivity. How dark do I want Yoda's face? 60 or 70? One of these two. I'll start with this one. So Monique, do you interact with I guess just negativity or negative people, for lack of a better term? You had to deal with those situations on the daily, as it were. All right, so I'm gonna go pretty dark with the shadows on his face here. Corporate brand pages. Oh, okay. I knew you had something to do with that, but I didn't know the details. So are you getting then feedback from the corporations or feedback from their customers? Oh, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Oh, yeah, okay. Well, you must get the worst of the worst. I'll tell you what, I will tell you a story and you can tell me a story. So, I volunteered my time to do some designs for some face masks and collaborating with some cut and sew people in California and North Carolina to make them, and it's really not a moneymaker for me. It's more of just trying to pitch in a little bit, and the cut and sew company I work with has been not forced, I know what the right word is for it, commanded, requested, whatever, by the government to I think give 50% of all the masks they make as a government contract, like they were commanded to do so. So that meant the shipping times for the mask that we were making got really hammered pretty hard, since 50% of the production was now off the table. And I put a notice on the website on the product page that says that, and it gives the exact estimates for the shipping time, and so far everything is actually shipped faster than the worst case scenario. And I had this customer on Twitter just going nuts, probably nothing compared to what you deal with, but for me he's going nuts about how he had ordered his product, like his mask, like it's been 3 weeks, he says, and I haven't heard anything, and no one's responded to my request, and blah blah, and all this stuff. And so I got on Twitter and I said, oh hey, I'm sorry to hear that, let me look up your order. And so at that point in time, it had not been 3 weeks, it had been like 6 business days. But this guy was having a meltdown. And so I responded back and I was like, well, here's the official fulfillment times during the crisis, and it's, 8 to 10 business days, up to 16 business days as a worst case scenario. And I was like, you know, I looked into your order and that should be shipping pretty soon. And as soon as it does, you'll get a shipping confirmation and a tracking number. And he's like, up to 16 business days. Oh, I can't. I was like, well, that's worst case. I don't think that's going to happen. But, you know, all the information's right there on the page where you ordered the mask from. And they are all handmade right here in America. So, you know, each one's made to order. And it says that too. So that seemed to satisfy him. And I noticed on business day number 8 that his order actually shipped and he got the shipping confirmation and all that. So I was like, well, good. At least he didn't have to wait, you know, longer than what we had estimated. At least it didn't go to a worst case scenario. Well, I got up this morning and the guy had started a payment dispute with PayPal. And his payment dispute basically says this: it took 3 weeks to fulfill my order, and what I want to keep the product and receive a refund. So I had to waste my time gathering up all the documentation for PayPal to show that no, it had only been 8 business days, not 3 weeks. And it had shipped, and he had received confirmation and all this stuff. But yet, this guy's outraged and incensed, and he wants a refund and to keep the product because he loves the product. Of course. So, we'll see how that turns out. But what made it even more crazy is that, come to find out, I looked on his, you know, he'd been contacting me via Twitter, so I looked at his Twitter account, and he's an actor on some FX TV show. I won't say which one, but I'm like, you know, this guy presumably has a pretty decent lifestyle and doesn't need to be freaking out over waiting the full 8 business days for his item to ship. But yes, like you say, all of his days have probably melted together. So he's like, it's been 3 weeks. I'm like, no, it hasn't. Not even close. It hasn't even been 2 weeks. It's barely been 1 week. So that's my most recent craziness, but I'm sure you have some that could blow that completely out of the water. So feel free to share what you can. But that was my taste of angry. You know, I'm not used to angry people. I'm used to people who are excited to get their art or whatever. And so that was a new one for me. But I like the exaggeration. It's been almost 3 weeks. Just like, that math doesn't work the way you think it does. It just feels like 3. Yeah, right? I get it. We're all under a lot of stress right now. And we want our stuff. I mean, even Amazon, you know, you go to get something with Prime shipping, and a lot of it is now a 2 to 4 week wait. So I thought this guy should probably be thrilled that his item shipped on the 8th business day. But I guess that's us people, right? We get focused on what we want sometimes. I know I'm guilty of it too. So Master Yoda starting to look pretty cool here. I'm looking on my screen, and this gray value looks a little dark compared to the black on screen, but in person it's not. It's got a really nice contrast, so it's kind of funny how that works. I know I did a small Yoda last week, and I kept thinking that the gray looked really good. It was a lighter gray. It looked really good on screen, but then in person it was too light. So it's kind of funny how that works out. One of your clients is a major shipping company with hundreds of thousands of followers, so multiply my story by that number. Oh my gosh. Well, I do feel sorry for you. I hope they pay you a fraction of what you deserve, and I hope it's a big fraction. I guess at least that's something you can do from home right now. Thank goodness, right? So many people. But I did see where, I mean, obviously, what else do we have to do right now to obtain things, right? We can go to the store, we can go online. So, if it's not groceries, it's probably going to be online. So with all this uptick in orders and shipping, I guess there's going to come a big uptick in people complaining. Plus the usual scammers. You probably have to deal with a lot of those as well. People who are trying to get something for nothing. Alright, so get Yoda's ear. I really want to finish Yoda's face, but I know the smart thing to do will be to let some of this gray marker dry and work on the cloak, and then come back and finish the face. So I guess that's what I'll do. And then once Yoda's done, we're going to do a BB-8. And if I can remember, I'll throw down a little bit of orange marker or color pencil or something on him, since that'll be easy to do. Let's see, we need to do Yoda's hand also. Just a little bit of shadow there. I've been paying attention to which days we get the most people on chat, and I noticed that this week it was Wednesday, which is interesting for me since I usually don't stream on Wednesdays. But today's been pretty good. It's been more like one or two people come and go, but overall it's been a good group of people. I really appreciate it. I am having so much fun drawing live for you guys and chatting with you. It's it's something I've wanted to try for years, but I've been so busy creating artwork for the different companies that it just wasn't possible. And now, while I dislike being mostly unemployed, I am having a really good time hanging out with you guys. Alright, so that's his hand. So I think now we can go and get a little bit lighter gray. That was 60%, so maybe we'll do like 40 and work on Yoda's cloak here. Yeah, 40 or 50. We'll do one of the two. Let's see what this looks like. Probably just 40. So I think we can get in just a few little shadow areas over here on Yoda. Leave a little bit of white on the top of his collar there so it helps his face pop. The internet has become the global soapbox for complainers. Boy, isn't that true? Oh my gosh. Boy, you do have to deal with all of it, don't you? My goodness. And that thing about the drivers, I have not filed any sort of complaint, but I was definitely guilty of that one on stream. We had a Prime driver one day. Normally they just leave stuff at my doorstep, but this guy rang the doorbell and knocked on the door, and he's standing there, and I was like, you can just leave it. He's like, hey, hands it, like puts his arm out to me, and so I was like, do I need to sign for it? He's like, no. I was like, well, you can just leave it. And he just like stands there, arms extended. So I stepped out and took it from him. I don't know what that was about, but I certainly wouldn't go on Twitter or Facebook or anything and try to complain directly to the company. I mean, what sort of, what would I expect to happen at that point? It's kind of silly. They can't win. Yeah, I guess that's what it is, right? I meet so many people in my life, and I bet this is a lot of the people you deal with, who feel that everything is an attack against them, right? And I try to explain to these people, I'm like, it's not about you. No one in the world are making their life decisions based on you and how they can attack you or how they can take things away from you. No. Everyone else is making their decisions about themselves just like you are. And so whatever that person did, it was not an attack against you. I guarantee you that. You did not enter their equation at all, ever. So next time you get all worked up because you think someone was out to wrong you, you just need to remind yourself that they weren't. They may or may not be a bad person, and they may or may not be a dick or whatever, but whatever it was they did not think about you or antagonizing you ahead of time. Your misery was just a byproduct of whatever happened. And so you can dwell on that and make yourself more upset, or you can get over it and move on, because guess what? They already have. They weren't thinking about you. But of course, you're not allowed to say that to people, so you would probably have to say stuff like, I'm so sorry to hear that. Is there anything else I can do for you today? I always feel sorry for people when they have that, where you have to say, is there anything else I can help you with today? Hopefully people are cool and just like, no, we're good now, but I'm sure there's a percentage that are just like, and let me tell you another thing. And they go on and on. All right, there's Yoda's cloak. That was 40% gray, so I think we'll just take a 20% and finish up his face. And then we can move on to BB-8. All right, so this is the 20% gray. I love Yoda so much. He's so cute. Got a couple areas here where we just want to leave some little white highlights behind. So I'm just trying to indicate some of those. So hopefully I don't forget and blow through them with the marker. It's been known to happen once or twice. When you're responding in the brain voice, you should be professional. You're known to borrow a friend's account and respond to people. Well, that's smart. That is smart. It's tough. I mean, you want to be professional and you want to represent the brand and you want customers to be happy, but I think we've all realized that there are some people who just can't be made whole. They can't be made happy. No solution is good enough for them. And I'm sure if you ask them what they actually want, they wouldn't even be able to verbalize it. Their real answer is like, I just don't want to be this angry and miserable, but I don't know how to make it go away. So taking it out on you. I'm sure Master Yoda would have some words of wisdom for all those people. All those people who only know how to be angry and upset and outraged. Well, I see that looks like Diamond Comic Distributors has announced the date when they expect to start shipping comics again, and so between them and DC and DC's new distributors, hopefully we can keep some of these fans reading comics and keep some of these comic retailers in business, whether it's, you know, picking up curbside or mail order or however some of them are doing it. An angry dick, do not be. Yeah, that's exactly what Master Yoda would say, right? A few more little touch-ups here, and I think it'll be looking pretty good. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Alright, so just need a signature on this one. There we go, Master Yoda.